The night was cold. The bridge was silent. And a young woman, dressed in wealth but drowning in despair, was about to take her final step into the darkness below. But then, a voice. A voice no one expected. "Don't jump." It didn't come from a policeman. It didn't come from a passerby. It came from a man the world had forgotten, a struggling black homeless man who had lost everything. Yet in that moment, he gave her the one thing money could never buy, a reason to keep living. What happened next would not only change her life, but his, forever. Stay with me, because this is not just a story about despair. It's a story about redemption, love, and the magic that happens when two broken souls collide. The night air in the city carried the smell of gasoline, fried food from corner stalls, and the faint bitterness of rain that had fallen earlier. On the sidewalk, beneath a broken streetlight, a man sat hunched over with a tattered jacket pulled tight against his chest. His name was Malik Carter, once a man with dreams, now just another shadow among the forgotten. Malik had not always been this way. Years ago, he was a skilled mechanic, the kind of man neighbors trusted to fix their cars with nothing more than his hands, some tools, and patience. He had a wife then, Lena, and a little boy named Isaiah. Life was never luxurious, but it was stable. Until one night tragedy shattered it all. A drunk driver ran a red light, and in the blink of an eye, Malik lost his wife and son. The grief broke him. Bills piled up, depression set in, and work slipped through his fingers like sand. He started drinking to numb the pain. Within a year, his apartment was gone. His friends drifted away. He became what people on the street whispered about, but rarely looked in the eye, a homeless man. Now, Malik lived under the highway bridge with a few others. Some nights he begged, some nights he dug through trash for food. Yet, despite his brokenness, there was a flicker of humanity he could not let go of. He still prayed under his breath. He still offered half a sandwich to another hungry man. He still remembered Isaiah's laugh, and that laugh kept him from fully giving up. That evening, as he sat on the sidewalk, Malik whispered to himself, "If I can just survive one more day, maybe tomorrow will be different." Little did he know, tomorrow was waiting with a storm of fate. The city bridge stretched across the dark waters like a spine of steel and concrete. Traffic had slowed for the night, leaving only the sound of the river below and the occasional car rushing past. Malik often wandered there when sleep refused to come, his mind heavy with memories he couldn't silence. That night, the sky was bruised with low-hanging clouds. Malik shuffled toward the bridge, clutching his thin jacket against the wind. His stomach growled, but hunger was nothing new. What weighed heavier was the silence of the world, the feeling that no one would notice if he disappeared. Then he saw her. A young woman stood at the edge of the bridge, her hair whipping in the cold wind, her hands gripping the railing. She was dressed too finely for this place, a long coat that screamed wealth, heels that had no business near steel grates. But her face was pale with despair. Malik froze. His first thought was disbelief. No, she's not about to. He stepped closer, heart pounding. The woman didn't turn. Her eyes were fixed on the black water below. He could hear her breath, sharp, uneven, broken. Malik's throat went dry. He had been invisible to the world for so long. But in that moment, he knew if he stayed silent, another life would vanish. Summoning a voice he barely recognized as his own, he called out, "Don't jump." The words echoed against the steel beams. The woman stiffened, startled. She turned slightly, just enough for Malik to see her eyes glisten with tears. "Go away," she whispered. "You don't understand." But Malik took a step closer. His legs trembled, not from fear of her, but from the memories her pain stirred inside him. He did understand. He had once been at the edge of giving up, too. "I understand more than you think," Malik said quietly. His voice cracked, raw with both truth and hunger. "But trust me, the water won't take the pain away. It'll just make it permanent." For a long moment, the night stood still. The river roared below, and the city lights flickered above. The woman's hands tightened on the railing as if she was fighting herself. Malik inched closer. His breath turned into visible mist in the cold. "Whatever you're running from," he continued, "it isn't bigger than your life. I lost my family. I lost my home. But I'm still here. And if I can keep standing, so can you." The woman's lips trembled. She looked down one last time, then back at him. For the first time, she truly saw him, the ragged clothes, the tired eyes, the scars of both life and loss. And then her knees buckled. She collapsed against the railing, sobbing. Malik rushed forward, pulling her away from the edge. His arms, though thin, held her with surprising strength. She clung to him, her tears soaking his worn jacket. Neither of them spoke another word. The night didn't need words, only the silent, fragile truth that two broken souls had just saved each other. Her name was Sophia Reynolds. To the world, she was untouchable. The only daughter of Richard Reynolds, a real estate tycoon whose empire stretched across states. Tabloids painted her as a golden child, Ivy League graduate, charity board member, the face of fashion magazines. People saw glossy smiles, luxury cars, private jets. But no one saw what lay beneath. Sophia's life was not her own. Every move she made was orchestrated by her father's power and her family's wealth. Her friends were chosen for her status. Her smile was rehearsed. Even her love life was a deal of convenience, arranged to merge empires. Behind the gilded walls of her father's mansion, Sophia lived in silence. Her mother, a gentle woman with soft hands, had passed when she was 15. Since then, the mansion felt less like a home and more like a glass cage. Her father was not cruel, but he was cold. Business came before everything. When Sophia cried, he told her to be strong. When she questioned, he reminded her of the family legacy she must uphold. At first, she tried to live up to it. She studied hard, smiled for cameras, wore the gowns, shook the hands. But the weight of pretending began to crack her soul. Then came the betrayal. The one person she trusted, the man she believed she loved, confessed he had only dated her under her father's direction, to strengthen a business alliance. Her heart shattered. That night, sitting alone in her penthouse, Sophia stared at her reflection. She saw a stranger, a puppet, a girl who had everything but nothing at all. And so, she wandered. The heels on her shoes clicked against the empty pavement as she walked aimlessly, tears blurring her vision. Somehow, her steps carried her to the bridge. She had thought no one would be there, that she could simply disappear into the river, and the world would write about it in polished headlines, "Billionaire's daughter dies in tragic fall." But instead, she met Malik, a man who had nothing, yet in that one moment gave her something priceless, a reason to pause. Now, in his arms, sobbing into his worn jacket, Sophia felt something she had never felt in the glittering halls of her mansion, real human warmth. The night had quieted, leaving only the soft hum of traffic far above. Malik helped Sophia sit on the cold concrete bench near the bridge. Her breathing was ragged, her makeup smudged, her expensive coat torn where it had scraped against the railing. For a moment, neither spoke. Malik stared at his worn shoes, unsure if he had done enough or too much. Sophia stared at the ground, afraid to meet the eyes of the man who had just pulled her from death. Finally, Malik cleared his throat. You don't have to tell me anything, he said softly. But you're still here. That's what matters. Sophia turned her head, studying him. His voice was gentle, yet layered with a sadness she couldn't ignore. There was no judgment, no pity, just understanding. You don't even know me, she whispered, her voice trembling. Malik gave a faint, tired smile. I don't need to. Pain. It looks the same on everyone. The words struck her. In her world, people covered pain with diamonds and designer clothes. In his world, pain was written on faces, out in the open. And somehow, he spoke about it with a wisdom that silenced her. Why did you stop me? She asked, her eyes narrowing as if demanding an answer. Malik hesitated. The memories of Lena and Isaiah flooded back, almost suffocating. He clenched his fists. Because I know what it's like to lose someone you can never get back. And I couldn't. I couldn't watch it happen again. Sophia's breath caught. For the first time, she wanted to know his story. Who did you lose? She asked carefully. Malik's eyes shimmered under the streetlight. My wife. My son. A drunk driver took them from me. After that, I lost myself too. Sophia's chest tightened. She had known grief, her mother's death, her father's coldness, but this man's loss was something deeper, rawer. I'm sorry, she whispered, and for once, it wasn't the hollow apology people gave her at social galas. It was real. Malik nodded. Life doesn't stop being cruel just because we beg it to. But, sometimes, even in the middle of the storm, you find someone who reminds you you're not alone. For a moment, they simply sat together in silence. Two broken lives, two strangers from worlds apart, bound by invisible threads of sorrow and survival. Sophia shivered. Malik noticed, and without thinking, he slipped off his ragged jacket and draped it over her shoulders. She looked at him in surprise. The jacket smelled faintly of the street, of smoke and rain, but it was warm. Why are you being kind to me? She asked, almost accusing. Malik shrugged. Because kindness is all I have left to give. Sophia looked at him then, really looked. And she realized that for the first time in her life, someone wasn't treating her like the daughter of Richard Reynolds, but as a human being. And that realization broke something open inside her. The first streaks of dawn painted the horizon when Malik and Sophia finally left the bridge. She insisted he walk her back to her car, a sleek black sedan parked on the far side. It stood like a jewel under the dim streetlights, its polished frame a sharp contrast to the man beside her. When they reached it, Sophia fumbled for her keys with trembling hands. Malik stuffed his hands into his pockets, awkward, unsure what to do next. You saved me, she said suddenly, turning to him. Her eyes, though still swollen from tears, carried a new clarity. I don't even know how to thank you. Malik shook his head. You don't need to thank me. Just live. That's enough. But Sophia's upbringing had conditioned her. Gratitude was always paired with something tangible. She opened her purse and pulled out a bundle of crisp bills. Here, she said, holding it out. Please. At least take this. Malik's eyes narrowed. He looked at the money as though it were poison. No. Sophia blinked. No. But... I don't want your money, Malik cut in firmly, though his voice carried no anger, only wounded pride. If I wanted money, I'd have let you jump and picked your purse clean after. The bluntness of his words stunned her. She had never met anyone who spoke so plainly. I just thought, she began. You thought wrong, Malik said quietly. He stepped back, the distance between them suddenly wide. I didn't pull you from that bridge because I wanted something from you. I did it because I couldn't let another life slip away, not while I was still breathing." Sophia lowered the money, her cheeks flushing with shame. She had grown up in a world where every gesture had a price tag, where kindness was rare and usually bought. She hadn't realized until that moment how much it insulted him. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't mean to offend you." Malik's face softened. He sighed and rubbed the back of his neck. "I know you didn't. But don't ever mistake someone's humanity for a transaction. Sometimes people do good, just because." Sophia swallowed hard, her heart twisting. She wanted to bridge the gap, but how? She had no tools beyond money, and here was a man who refused it. "Then, what can I do?" she asked gently. Malik hesitated. His pride told him to walk away, to let this night fade into memory. But his heart whispered otherwise. He met her eyes, his voice low. "Just don't forget me." The words lingered in the air like a fragile promise. Sophia nodded slowly, clutching the bundle of bills back to her chest. For the first time, she realized that perhaps her wealth was the least valuable thing she had to offer. For days, Sophia couldn't shake the memory of Malik's words. "Just don't forget me." She thought about him during board meetings, while her father's sharp voice echoed across the conference table. She thought about him at night, staring out from her penthouse balcony, the city stretching below like a bed of diamonds she no longer admired. So one evening, against every instinct her upbringing had drilled into her, Sophia went searching. She remembered his ragged jacket, the faint smell of smoke and rain, the way he had spoken of loss without shame. She remembered his pride. After asking discreetly around the city's less polished corners, she found him. Beneath the overpass, with cardboard walls and a fire burning inside a metal barrel, Malik sat surrounded by a few other men, each one weathered by the streets. His presence stood out, quiet dignity even in ruin. When Sophia approached, Malik looked up in surprise. For a moment, suspicion flickered in his eyes. Then recognition softened them. "You came back," he said, voice low. "I told you I wouldn't forget," Sophia replied. She smiled faintly, though nerves fluttered in her chest. "I wanted to see if you were okay." Malik chuckled dryly. "Okay's a strong word for someone who sleeps under bridges. But I'm alive. That counts for something." Sophia sat down beside him, ignoring the curious stares of the others. For the first time, she wasn't the billionaire's daughter. She was just a woman sitting next to a man who had saved her life. They talked. At first, cautiously. She asked about his days, his dreams before life unraveled. He asked about her world, the one she carried like chains on her shoulders. Slowly, walls began to crumble. And then, something subtle began to happen. Whenever they spoke, Malik felt lighter, as though his grief, though still present, no longer weighed on him like it used to. And Sophia, who had lived her life under the shadow of her father's power, felt something she hadn't known in years: freedom. It was as though their broken pieces fit together, forming something unexplainable. Something almost magical. One evening, as Sophia rose to leave, Malik stopped her. "Why are you really here?" he asked. Sophia hesitated. Her gaze fell on the fire's glow, flickering like the fragile hope in her chest. "Because when you saved me, Malik, it felt like you gave me back my soul. And I don't want to lose it again." The words stunned him. 4 years, Malik had been nothing, invisible, discarded. But in her eyes, he saw himself reflected as someone worth remembering, worth loving. That night, as Sophia's car disappeared into the city, Malik sat by the fire, his hands trembling. For the first time since Lena and Isaiah's death, he whispered not a prayer of grief, but of thanks. And though he didn't see it, a shooting star streaked across the sky, as if the universe itself was acknowledging their bond. Autumn crept into the city, painting the trees in shades of gold and rust. Weeks had passed since the night on the bridge, and Sophia's visits to the underpass had become a rhythm of their own. What started as cautious conversations soon grew into something sacred. Malik shared stories he had buried for years. Of Lena's laugh, the way Isaiah used to chase butterflies in the backyard. Of the night the police knocked on his door with trembling lips and eyes that couldn't meet his. The wreck. The funerals. The silence afterward. Sophia listened, tears often streaming down her cheeks. She had lived surrounded by noise, parties, cameras, obligations, but Malik's silence told a truth louder than anything she had ever heard. One evening, sitting by the fire's glow, Sophia finally confessed her own secret. "I wasn't just sad that night," she admitted. "I was empty. My whole life, I've been a puppet. My father controls everything. Even the man I thought loved me." Her voice broke. "He was only pretending. For business." Malik's eyes softened with sorrow, but also with understanding. "And so you went to the bridge?" Sophia nodded, hugging her knees. "I thought, if I disappeared, maybe it wouldn't matter. Maybe no one would notice." Malik leaned forward, his voice steady, carrying the weight of lived truth. "You're wrong. Someone would have noticed. Someone would have broken, just like I did when I lost my family. Pain doesn't stay with one person, Sophia. It ripples." His words struck her like lightning. She realized then that her death wouldn't have ended her suffering. It would have created new suffering in others. Malik had carried that burden, and he refused to let her add to it. That night, Sophia made a decision. For the first time in years, she confronted her father. She walked into his office, her chin high, and said, "I won't live your life anymore. I'll live mine." His cold stare tried to cut her down, but she didn't flinch. It was Malik's strength in her veins, Malik's truth in her heart. Meanwhile, Malik too began to transform. He started taking small steps, applying at a shelter program, offering his skills at a local garage. Each step felt terrifying, but Sophia's faith in him gave him courage. And then came the night when Sophia returned to the underpass, carrying something small in her hands. She placed it in Malik's palms. It was a photo frame. Inside was a picture of a boy chasing butterflies, drawn from the way Malik had described Isaiah. Malik's eyes welled. His hands shook as he traced the child's outline. You remembered." Sophia smiled softly. "I didn't just remember. I wanted you to know your son's laughter still echoes here. Through you. Through me." In that moment, something shifted. The broken mechanic and the billionaire's daughter no longer saw each other as rescuer and rescued. They were partners in survival, in healing, in rebirth. And though the city around them roared with indifference, the space between them felt charged, as if destiny itself had stitched two torn souls together. Winter settled in, but for Malik and Sophia, the cold no longer carried the same loneliness. Something had changed, not just in their lives, but in their hearts. Malik had found steady work at a local auto shop. The owner, impressed by his skill, welcomed him like family. For the first time in years, Malik felt useful, felt seen. At night, he no longer curled under cardboard boxes. Sophia helped him into a small apartment, modest but warm, where the hum of the radiator was a lullaby instead of the howl of the wind. Sophia, too, was transformed. She no longer wore masks for society. She cut ties with the hollow relationships her father had arranged, and instead poured herself into causes that mattered: shelters, community kitchens, programs for the forgotten. In every face she helped, she saw Malik. Their bond deepened in ways words could not fully capture. Malik was still haunted at times, by memories of Lena and Isaiah, by the nights when despair nearly swallowed him whole. But Sophia became the anchor he never expected, reminding him that his story wasn't over. And Sophia, who once thought her life meaningless despite her wealth, now found her purpose in Malik's world, in kindness that couldn't be bought, in love that grew not from power but from shared brokenness. One evening, as snowflakes drifted through the city, Malik and Sophia walked together across the very bridge where they had first met. The river below glistened like glass. Sophia stopped, her breath fogging in the air. "Do you ever think about that night?" she asked softly. Malik's gaze lingered on the water. "Every day. It reminds me that sometimes the world gives you one more chance, when you least deserve it, but most need it." Sophia slipped her hand into his. "And sometimes, the person who saves you is the one who needed saving too." They stood there in silence, hand in hand, the city stretching endlessly around them. To others, they were an odd pair, a billionaire's daughter and a man who had once been homeless. But to them, they were simply two souls who had found light in each other's darkness. And as a gust of wind swept across the bridge, Malik closed his eyes. For the first time in years, he didn't hear silence or grief. He heard laughter, Isaiah's laughter, carried gently in the wind, as though the universe itself had blessed his second chance. He smiled. Sophia smiled back. And together they walked off the bridge, not as the broken and the lost, but as two people who had chosen life, chosen healing, and chosen each other. Sometimes, the people who have the least to give end up giving us the most. Malik had nothing, no home, no wealth, no family, yet he saved Sophia with nothing more than his words and his heart. And Sophia, the billionaire's daughter, who thought her life was meaningless, discovered purpose in kindness, in healing, and in love. This story is a reminder. You never truly know who might save you, or who you might save. Sometimes destiny brings people together at the very edge of despair, just to show them that life is still worth living. Tell me in the comments, what does this story mean to you? And if this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss more powerful stories like this one. Because sometimes, the stories we share are the very lifelines someone else is waiting to hear.